Hello and welcome to the Sales Code Leadership Podcast. My name is Kevin Teeler. I'm the host of the podcast and the founder of Sales Code. And this week I'm delighted to introduce Rebecca Jenkins from RJEN. Hello, Rebecca. How are you?
Hi, Kevin. I am so looking forward to this. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome indeed. We've talked a few times, you and I. I moved down, as you know, I moved down to Bristol a couple of years ago. I know you're the area somewhere, aren't you? Where are you based?
I'm just a little bit south of Bristol on the channel at Clevedon.
Are you? Is it really Clevedon? What a lovely place. Been there a couple of times. That's my closest seaside now.
Yes. Yeah.
You may find me trundling out on my ancient Triumph Bonneville motorcycle on a sunny afternoon and parking it up at that pub called on the front then.
The Heart.
The Half and Sixpence, not Half and Sixpence, the Moon and Sixpence.
The Moon and Sixpence, yeah.
Half and Sixpence was a musical with Tommy Steele, which most of the people listening to this podcast will never have heard of him. But anyway, what a lovely chap he is. Okay, so, well, thank you for joining the call. As you know, I like to kick these calls off with a bit of background, a bit of bio. So let's try and figure out, if you want to answer this question for me, that'd be very helpful. What is it you get paid to do today?
I get paid to do work that I love, which I know is going to sound glib, but I have this real love of helping businesses to grow and avoid some of the stupid mistakes that I've made in the past. And that's generally through the lens of how do you develop your strategy? It might be your route to market strategy. It might be your business revenue growth strategy. It might be your sales strategy. How do you develop that? Helping them to develop that, and often helping them to execute it as well.
And who are them?
Oh, it could be large organizations that want to grow their key accounts and don't know how to create that transformation inside those key accounts. Or it could be much smaller businesses that have an ambition to grow, just not quite sure how to get to that next stage. When you think about it, Kevin, what are the options for growth? You could go and acquire a business, and that takes money and effort and all the things that go with that. Or you could grow through gaining your ideal clients and retaining them for the long term. And that's what I love to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you do what you love, you're really never going to work another day in your life, are you?
That's a very true phrase. And on most 99% of the time, it's like that. There are some days when it's, goes off a bit, but hey, that's life.
What do you do on a day when it goes off a bit? How do you pick yourself up?
Oh, I go for a walk. This happened to me this week, and the sun was shining, and I just downed tools and I said, I am going to go for a walk not far from where I live, up onto the golf course, into the woods, and smell the bluebells and see the lilac and just take in the surrounding. And I just come back such a different person when I do that.
Be at one with nature.
Be at one with nature, and just ditch the phone, just look at what's around, and you just realize really any problem you're facing, it's just so insignificant in the whole scheme of things.
So it sounds like you've got a very interesting job that you really enjoy, making a difference to companies' sales efforts and organization. Is that the career that you had in mind at 16, Rebecca?
I wonder if any of your guests have ever told what they thought they had in mind when they were 16. If you have had one, tell me who it is and I should go listen to that episode because I'd be amazed. No, I don't think I didn't know what to do when I was 16. And do you know what I did do? I went and did a secretarial course.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, how crazy is that?
Was that Pitman's or something, was it? That sort of thing? Or what was it?
Well, it included shorthand, which my daughter said to me the other day, what on earth's that?
Right. Is that still a thing, shorthand? I guess it probably is it? If you're a top quality executive assistant or something, probably.
You reckon? No, I don't think so. I mean, somebody can prove us wrong, but I wouldn't have thought so. And then I thought, this isn't for me. I need to do something where it's much more about people. And then I took, it was like an HND in hotel management, and did that. And then I worked as a worked on the front desk in hotels for a while.
Well, that's a great introduction to customer service, isn't it?
Well, it made you realize that how you engage and interact with people is quite critical to their experience of maybe the hotel or staying in your hotel. Yeah.
Completely. And what about sales then? You had quite a long and distinguished career in sales and sales management. I know that. What is it you love about selling?
Oh, I think it's part of building the relationships with people and helping them to achieve their bigger goal or their bigger vision. And I just like to narrow it down to that. And if we're the right fit to help them with it, it feels exciting and feels very good. And being able to say no if it's not a good fit. So I just think it's about helping businesses, individuals achieve something more. That's what I like about sales.
The topic we wanted to really zoom in today is a sort of specialist subject for yours, because I know you wrote a book, didn't you, a couple of years ago. What was that called?
Winning Big in Sales.
Yeah.
I think I had the wrong title, Kevin.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, I think I've only really recently appreciated how tarnished the name sales is.
Right.
Because I've always seen it to be an asset to be good at sales. I mean, if you want to grow a business, which is what I was doing, you've got to be good at sales. And you've got to be able to retain your clients. And I think I've really only recently begun to appreciate that it's such a people have a tarnished view of it. And I think, I think in one of your episodes, you said people think of it as a bit grubby.
It did say that.
And I think you and I really strive to change people's perceptions on what it is about. So yes, my book, Winning Big in Sales, is around my sort of process and my strategy to help companies win C-suite clients, to win those enterprise accounts.
And that's not easy. That's not easy. I think it starts with a mindset, actually. This is my view. You'll tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel that often as a salesperson, we put ourselves we sort of subjugate ourselves to the C-level person. We kind of think, but to your point, actually, sales isn't really a noble profession. It's not deemed by many people to be a noble profession. I think that gets into the mindset of salespeople sometimes, and they feel when they're talking to a CEO or something that, well, I'm down here, right? I'm this seller. You're the big C-level person. We're not on the same level. I think it's getting yourself. For me, it was always getting yourself on that same level. We're all as good as everybody else, and if you do your sales job properly, you can really help people, as you say, solve problems. So do you think one of the first things you need to do is get yourself on a level playing field mentally with the C-level person you're selling to?
I think you're probably right there, Kevin, and I'm a big believer in having the right mindset. And I was very, very, very fortunate to pick up a book in my early 20s about mindset. It was a book written by Tony Robbins called Awaken the Giant Within. And it was a big relief to me to read this book, because it explained that you don't have to be a genius or hyper intelligent to succeed in life. And it was all about your mindset and your approach to life. And thank goodness I picked that book up early on, because I'd never once thought that when I was speaking to C-suite executives that we weren't on the same level. It was just, I just didn't appreciate that we weren't. And I think that comes from reading the book and really focusing all my life on this thing called mindset and understanding what it means. So I think that's really helped me. So I've never felt that I wasn't an equal in a way. I mean, we're all equal, and I've never considered it to be any different. I think that probably helped.
It's a good book. I've read it.
Yeah, it's a really good book.
Yeah, I like a lot of Anthony Robbins stuff. I've got his 7 Lies of Highly Successful People somewhere. I think it's called something like that. The 7 Lies of Success, I think it's called. I've got them written down in a little folder that I keep of all the sort of clippings and tips that I've learned over the years, the stuff that's really landed with me. And one of those is, he started from a position of saying, look, these things may not all be true, but it's generally helpful to believe, for instance, that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Even if that isn't true, it's actually quite helpful to believe that it is. I've tried to adopt that approach. So I think the mindset thing is huge. It's absolutely huge in terms of how you engage with people. But how does it work for you in practice? Because are you selling to C-level people as part of your business quite often?
I'm not so much now, and I do still do it, and I still have those big client accounts. But I'm really happy now helping other businesses realize that they can win those big accounts, because very often they have that mindset that they can't win them, or they'd like to, but they don't really know how. And I get a lot of joy and pleasure for helping them to win those big accounts. And part of that is mindset, Kevin. You are right. It's helping them to create that vision where they really could go after them and showing them a structured way to actually achieve it. And that's incredibly fulfilling. The downside for winning big accounts is that it takes longer.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really expect, well, I mean, you can expect, but it doesn't very often happen much within sort of 12 months.
No.
And therefore, we have to have a strategy that helps them to increase sales in the meantime.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are your tips on selling to the C-suite then? Come on, I know you've got the book, and I'm sure people will go out and buy that, because I did. I think it's very good for what it's worth. What are your tips then? What are you prepared to share?
Oh, lots of tips. I guess the first one would be, if you think what you're doing now and being successful in winning smaller accounts is going to work to win big accounts, then you need to rethink things through, because it isn't going to work. You have to have a very different approach.
Right.
And I'm sure you'll relate to this, Kevin, and you will have seen it in your extensive sales experience too. If you want to try and speak to a C-suite executive and say, hi, Mary, I'd like to have a discovery call with you. I mean, you're just not going to get very far, because they're going to put the phone down on you, or they're going to ignore your message on LinkedIn. It's just not going to work. And therefore, you have to put more effort in up front before you even speak to them.
Right. So with the days of just picking up a phone and rattling off a cold call from a list, is that dead really for selling to the C-suite?
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work. Okay.
No, it's not going to happen. And I realized this many years ago when, in growing a business, I wanted to win these big accounts, but every time I was told we were too small, we were too risky, nobody's going to take a punt on you, etc., etc. And I thought, how are we going to break this? How are we going to get through this? What do we need to do? Because I was very ambitious to grow the business. And I had these accounts that I absolutely wanted to win. So would it be okay to share the story of how I learned about doing things differently to win C-suite clients?
I'd love to hear.
Okay, brilliant. That was the right answer. Thank you. So we need to hear
stories. I think stories are a great way of selling. In fact, honest, and I'm not being glib or facetious here, one of the best salespeople ever was Jesus. And if you think about it, he told great stories. Yeah. Absolutely great. And that was the way of engaging an audience. And so, yeah, and let's hear your story. I'd love to hear it.
Okay. So in growing the logistics business, I absolutely wanted to win an account with the Body Shop. I loved what they were doing. Anita Roddick, the founder, was my epitome of the most amazing female business person on earth. I loved her entrepreneurial story. She's growing a business. She was way ahead of her time. She talked about the environment and not testing on animals and beauty the view that the beauty industry had about beauty wasn't her view. And I just resonated with everything that she talked about. So that was an account I wanted to win. That was a client that I wanted to do all their distribution for. So on the back of not being very successful winning big accounts, I changed our approach and I went to Body Shop, whose head office is probably 3 hours away from where our depot was. And I went to their location. I met the team. I had every press clipping about Body Shop. I knew their accounts inside out. I knew their strategic goals. I knew what they were trying to achieve. I knew the team. That's just, if you put me on mastermind, Kevin, and my specialist question was the Body Shop, I would have got top marks.
I think you've probably got more to share on this topic, but I do completely agree with you about Anissa Roddick. I think she's no longer with us, is she? She
No,
died
sadly.
quite young, but she was a real pioneer and such a remarkable woman.
Yeah.
So absolutely. So you went to your meetings having really thoroughly prepared. You did all of your homework. It's a little bit like me interviewing you. I know quite a bit about you because we have spoken before, but I did my research on you. I took the trouble a couple of months ago to read your book, partly because I was looking forward to reading it and partly because I was looking forward to interviewing you. So I think you're talking about this sort of detailed research-based approach, right?
Yeah, it's 4 sets of insights. So if I could just expand a little bit on the story.
Yeah.
Spent all this time getting to know Body Shop. And then one day I did get a call from them and they said, "Hey, Rebecca, we are now thinking about going out to tender and we'd love you to be, to bid for our transport operation. And would you like to?" And I thought, of course I'd like to. This has made my day. Couldn't wait to tell the team. And then they said, "Yes, but just don't get too carried away because we're going to XYZ company." And my heart sunk because they were the biggest competitors in the UK. We were turning over, say, 8 million at the time, maybe 10, and they were turning over probably not far short of billions, or a billion. And so I thought, oh my goodness, how on earth are we going to compete with them? What do we need to do? Anyway, we'll take the opportunity and we'll go ahead. And we did. And to cut a long story short, we won the contract for one reason, nothing to do with price. Do you know what that one reason was, Kevin?
No.
That one reason was because we knew so much about them that we were able to put something together that nobody else had thought about. And it was an operation that improved their efficiency overall. It's quite simple, but because no other company had taken the time to get to know them to the degree that we knew them, couldn't have picked it up, couldn't have done it, couldn't have come up with the idea.
I love that story.
Do you know what, though? We nearly lost it a year later. But that's another story. But we nearly lost it because we didn't continue to create a transformation in their business. And that's something that I've learned. If you want to win new business, C-suite executives, you've got to really understand their business and their strategic goals and be able to help them create a transformation to achieve that. But it doesn't stop there. If you want to retain your clients for the long term, you have to keep doing it. And we kept the contract with Body Shop for 10 years up to the point that we sold the business.
Fantastic. What a great story. I imagine you buy wonderful Christmas gifts for people that you love, do you?
Yes.
Yeah. See, I think that's part of the message of your story. Yeah, you can't buy really good Christmas gifts for people unless you really understand them.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I understand. Yes, you're right. It's sometimes just something that they might just say halfway through the year. And you think, oh, that's an idea.
Yeah.
Something at Christmas, yeah.
Yeah. It's true, isn't it? You've got to really understand, because you get to a certain age. I mean, and you've got a lot of the things that you want in your life. Because, all I have, I'm guessing you probably have as well, this sort of physical stuff, right? But
Yeah.
really, really delighting people with experiences.
Experiences.
Yeah. And I think that's part of why I would have thought that you'd be good at that, because the way you talked about that story, you tailored your response, you took a real effort to understand Body Shop before you even walked through the door to make sure that you were able to bring them something that was really exciting for them, really appropriate. And then after that, as you say, once you've won, you never really win an account. You're always winning it. You're always trying to retain it, and in the sense that they're getting value out of it, right?
That's so true, but that was a lesson I had to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we all learn lessons in life, don't we?
And continue to, Kevin.
Yeah, we do.
Well, for me anyway.
Yeah, we do. No, we do. Absolutely. If you're not learning, you're not growing. And it sounds very cheesy, doesn't it? And glib, but it's true. It's absolutely true. There's no question about that. So the smart thing to do then, if you're going to engage with a target list of prospects, presumably you need to spend quite a bit of time figuring out who the right prospect for you is, which of these big companies you want to go after. Is that part of the research process as well? Or does that work?
It is. And defining what it is that would make those companies your ideal clients to go after. For me, at the Body Shop, it was so much around the values and about the late day meteorologic. It's a little bit more sophisticated now in defining what we think a great fit factor would be.
Yeah.
But the values are a key part of that, because you want to work with businesses where you have an alignment of values, and I think that's quite fundamental.
How does it work for your business then, in terms of the people that you work with?
Yeah, I work with individuals that I love to work with, where I think there's a mutual respect, a mutual desire to achieve something, to help them achieve it, and an alignment of values of integrity and kind of making it a partnership. I think that's the key thing. You really want this to be a collaboration, a working together to achieve something.
And that's kind of that's really what you're talking about with the Body Shop. It was a collaboration, right?
Yeah.
Ideally, that's got to be the way you're going with this stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, and the ultimate collaboration came with Body Shop when they told us after 12 months that we had hit every single key performance indicator. But they told me and my team that we were boring.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right.
And I had no idea what they meant. I mean, what do you mean? We've just done everything for the last 12 months. We've got you through Christmas. We've delivered to every single Body Shop store on time. And we know your team. We've helped your team unpack the goods and put them on the shelf. What more could we have done? Our drivers even had little kits of Body Shop perfume and deodorant to keep themselves fresh when they made the delivery. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Mm.
Yet they said, you're boring, and if that doesn't change, we won't continue the contract with you. We won't continue to work with you.
So were they speaking to a lack of creativity?
They didn't explain what they meant.
Mm-hmm.
I asked them and they said, go away, work it out, come back in a couple of weeks. Okay. But ultimately, you're right. We were lacking. Well, this was a big breakthrough for me, Kevin, because I was thinking, and this was a big revelation for me, because I had to admit that I didn't know what to do. So it was a big leadership learning for me as well. I had to go back to my team and say, this is one of my most favorite accounts. We've had it for 12 months. It's a fantastic client to have. We could lose them. I have no idea what we need to do differently. And we kept asking the question, I kept asking the question, how can we provide a better distribution service to Body Shop? Completely the wrong question to be asking. What we should have been asking, and when one of my team said, why don't we look at it differently, the penny dropped. And we said, how can we provide a better service to Body Shop in a total perspective, not just from a distribution perspective. And then we realized that, oh, goodness me, what's important to Body Shop? It's the environment. What do we have? A fleet of trucks all belching out black smoke. Diesel trucks harming the environment. Oh, yeah, we are probably not as aligned as we could be to their bigger strategic goals.
So what do you do?
Well, on that occasion, we had a couple of weeks to think about this, felt very uncomfortable, and we came up with this brilliant idea, the fleet engineer, I think, came up with the idea, and we rushed to Body Shop. We got this amazing idea, hope you love it, and they absolutely loved it, and that's what formed the relationship to continue for another 10 years. And the idea was to put the first natural gas vehicle truck on the road in the UK. And we had no idea how we were going to make that happen. They just loved the idea of it. And then that's when it became a real partnership and collaboration, because they put their weight behind it and we worked together to make it happen.
So I'm going to summarize this as: you won the account as a tactical provider. You retained it as a strategic partner.
Nicely put. Absolutely. Well put. Yeah.
So I think the message there is you can get in the door and win an account, but don't sit on your laurels and don't imagine that necessarily the problem that you've solved will be the problem you continue to solve.
Yeah.
And in the process of doing that, how high up the hierarchy in the value chain in Body Shop did you get? I mean, were you selling to the board level people by the time you matured that relationship?
Yep.
Yeah.
We had Anita Audit was involved.
Did you ever meet her?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You did?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How many times did you meet her?
Not that many, probably about 3 times.
And you had conversations?
Yeah. And she was amazing as I had imagined her to be.
Yeah.
Mm.
Was she aware of the work that you'd been doing?
Yeah.
She was?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, she bought into the whole idea behind it. She was a big supporter of it, and she was just an amazing, humble, down-to-earth, lovely person.
Enormously successful and quite wealthy.
So, yeah.
No, wouldn't it be great? I can tick a couple of those boxes, but it's the enormously successful and the very wealthy. I'm still... Oh boy, what a great story. What a great story. So, here's the thing. What advice would you give to a sales leader coming into a tech company, let's say, which is the field that I play in, and with a strategy in place to grow big sales? What would be the 3 things you'd recommend to that person to do in the first 90 days if they wanted to adopt your methodology?
Well, I think, first of all, understand the values of the business and find those ideal clients that you think would be a great fit for your company.
Yeah.
That would be number 1. Number 2 would be, once you've, and collaborate with your team to decide on those top 20, top 30 accounts that you'd like to go after, then it would be do the research and lead with insights. And for the insights, I say look across 4 key areas. Look at the company that you'd like to have as your ideal client. Get to understand what's happening in their world. Look at their strategic accounts, or get that information. Look at what their competitors are up to. And this is a little bit more difficult to do, but I do challenge companies to take this into account. And that is to see what their clients or their ideal clients' clients are up to and what they might be looking for.
The clients' clients are up to.
Yeah.
That's another level.
It is another level. And then the last one would be to look at what's happening in the industry. what challenges might be on the horizon, what legislation might be changing, who are the disruptors. So you get this holistic picture of what's going on. You almost want to be in the buyer's shoes. You almost want to be that MD or that C-suite executive and sort of immersing yourself in that and understanding what their challenges might be, what they're up against.
And I guess be patient as well, because you say this thing doesn't happen in a heartbeat, does it?
It doesn't. And, once you've done that initial research, you then have to lead with insights and approach those C-suite executives with insights that they are not expecting or that kind of really resonates with them to a degree, but they wouldn't be expecting you to have that degree of knowledge. And I call it VICE, which means make sure you're adding value, make sure you're providing insights. Buyers want there to be a collaboration and they want to be educated. So don't make your approach until you've covered those things off. And have some form of transformational concept that you can take to them. So through your research, you've got an idea that you would love to discuss with them.
Very good. I love that. You've shared a lot, actually. You've shared a lot. I'm sure there's a lot more detail available from you directly, or, of course, by buying the book, which I assume is available from all good bookstores, is it? And Amazon and all that kind of stuff?
In particular, Amazon. Yes.
And again, we'll put something in the notes about this. What's it called, the book again?
Winning Big in Sales.
By Rebecca Jenkins.
Yeah.
Fab. Well, we've only got time for one last question.
Oh, wow. I've done too much talking.
Well, that's what you're here for. This is my opportunity to improve my listening skills and share your wisdom with the audience. I always have the one last question. I got it from Columbo, which you may remember, the famous TV detective. I think one of the best salespeople as well. There's another person I always refer back to with admiration, even though obviously fictional character, but still, that's how sad I am. What's the one thing you wish you knew at the beginning of your career that you picked up along the way, Rebecca?
I think I've sort of touched on it, Kevin, and it's okay to say, I don't know. As a leader, it's okay to say that. And I didn't think it was okay for me to say that when I was in a leadership role at the beginning. I thought I had to have all the answers. And that was a big, big mistake. I'd love to have learned that earlier on.
How do you think your career might have been different if you had?
I think I would have had better ideas from the team. We could have been more creative. Maybe I wouldn't have fallen into that trap with Body Shop, because when I admitted to my team, I didn't know what to do next. But what came from that? Now, maybe I could have applied that to other opportunities.
That's a lovely thought. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Kevin. It's just been amazing to chat with you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure entirely. And thank you to the listener as well. Please do leave us a review if you like what you've heard, because it helps to boost the listenership enormously. And share the podcast on whatever platform you want to.